RPN, the Roddenberry Podcast Network.
Today's daily Star Trek news is supported by listeners like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Hello and welcome to your Daily Star Trek News from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. I'm Allison Pitt, and today is Monday, August 24th, 2020. On today's show, Alexander Siddig and Andrew Robinson's performance of the fan-written fluff fic for Bashir and Garak is now available to watch on YouTube. The new Star Trek novel, A Contest of Principles, is available for pre-order, and Wil Wheaton stars in the upcoming thriller, Rent-a-Pal. We're catching up on the weekend's Star Trek news, coming up next. Alexander Siddig and Andrew Robinson's performance of the fan-written fluff fic, Little Achievements, is now available to watch on YouTube. Earlier this month, fanfic author Almasi announced that Siddig and Robinson had agreed to perform their fan script on Sid City Social Club, a semi-regular Zoom meeting for members of SidCity.net, which is Siddig's fan-run official fan site. The performances took place on Tuesday, August 11th and Friday, August 14th, and the recording of the event, complete with an introduction by the author, is now available to watch on YouTube. Little Achievements is set some 20 years after the conclusion of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and in the story, Bashir and Garak are a couple. The piece takes place after Bashir has been away accepting an award, and his warm-hearted look at how one's greatest achievements are not always the great ones. If you are at all a fan of the Garak ship, or would just like to watch Siddig and Robinson recreate their famous chemistry again, Little Achievements is completely worth your time. Might be a good idea to have a tissue handy, though. You can watch Little Achievements now on Sid City Social Club's YouTube channel. You can also find it in the Newsworthy Videos playlist for this show at youtube.com/Daily Star Trek News. Now, speaking of fictional pieces, but this time coming from a licensed source. A new Star Trek novel featuring the original series crew on their original 5-year mission is now available for pre-order, shipping in November. Comicbook.com brought us the news last week that Star Trek: A Contest of Principles by Greg Cox tells the story of Kirk and crew split between competing missions. Cox, who also wrote last year's novel, The Antares Maelstrom, is a seasoned Star Trek writer with dozens of Star Trek and other licensed titles to his name. Among his non-Star Trek work are novels for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, The 4400, Godzilla, and The Librarians, notable for starring Strange New Worlds' Rebecca Romaine and being frequently directed by Jonathan Frakes. The novel's synopsis reads: the planet Vok is holding its first free elections after years of oppressive military rule. Captain James T. Kirk and the crew of the Starship Enterprise have been dispatched by Starfleet to serve as impartial observers, but remaining neutral proves a challenge, as Kirk confronts a tangled web of scandal, conspiracy, and assassination plots, with the stability of an entire sector at stake. To make matters worse, Dr. Leonard McCoy has vanished while on a mission of mercy to Braco, a nearby planet only a system away. With Kirk unable to abandon his vital mission on Vok to hunt for his friend, it's up to First Officer Spock and Christine Chapel to lead a team in search of the missing doctor, even if it means risking whatever fate befell McCoy. Unknown to his friends and crewmates, however, McCoy has been spirited away to another world, Ozalor, where he's expected to find a cure for a mysterious ailment plaguing a member of the planet's ruling family. Torn between his Hippocratic oath and his desire to escape, McCoy finds himself at the center of a deadly palace intrigue and a struggle for power that may ultimately consume all three worlds. Star Trek: A Contest of Principles is now available to pre-order at Amazon.com, or you can find out more directly from the publisher at SimonandSchuster.com. More news in a moment, but first, a word from me. So listen, most of you are listening to this show on your favorite podcast app, but some of you are actually watching my face tell you this, because you're watching on YouTube. If you're already watching on YouTube, then feel free to tune out for just a minute. I need to have a word with the podcast listeners. Now, I've been bringing you daily Star Trek news straight to your ear holes for over a year now, and it's more or less the same show as when it started. But recently, we made a big change, and I started recording this show and publishing it on YouTube. Now you can see my face, be all judgy about my office, and possibly most importantly, you can actually see some of the stuff I talk about in the show. So please, head over to YouTube and check it out. Maybe even give me a thumbs up or smash that subscribe button or whatever it is that the kids say. You can find today's episode and all the past ones too at youtube.com/Daily Star Trek News. That's youtube.com/Daily Star Trek News. And I hope to see you there. Or here. If you're watching. Right. Next up, Wil Wheaton has come a long way from the acting ensign many of us remember. The Star Trek The Next Generation actor is starring in his first thriller, IFC Midnight's Rent-A-Pal, the trailer for which was released earlier this month. Based on an actual VHS video called Rent-A-Friend, Rent-A-Pal is set in 1990, just before the digital revolution. David, played by Brian Landis Fulkins, is a lonely 40-year-old man who lives with and cares for his mother, played by Kathleen Brady. In search of companionship, David stumbles across a strange video, Rent-A-Pal. The video's charming host, Andy, is played by Wheaton and brings David the friendship he's looking for, but at a price he isn't expecting. Tensions ramp up in this psychological thriller as Andy's friendship becomes more intense than David could have anticipated. Rent-A-Pal also stars actor Amy Rutledge. In an interview with Deadline, Rent-A-Pal writer and first-time director John Stevenson expressed his excitement for the film's release. "I look forward to working with the IFC Midnight team and releasing Rent-A-Pal," Stevenson said. "This movie is near and dear to my heart, and I'm truly excited for the world to see it. And for the world to see a very different side of Wil Wheaton." Outside of the Star Trek universe, Wheaton has held numerous television and film roles and has an extensive list of voiceover credits in both television and video games. While starring in a thriller is a first for Wheaton, you'd never know it from watching the trailer, which is available on YouTube. Rent-A-Pal is set to be released in select theaters and on demand on September 11th. Well, that's it for today's daily Star Trek news from the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Don't forget to check out the other great shows on the network at podcasts.roddenberry.com. Daily Star Trek News is produced by me, Allison Pitt, with selected stories by Chris Peterson. We're supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out how you can add your support at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. Sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. Get all the day's Star Trek news delivered straight to your inbox every weekday morning. And if email's not your thing, then don't forget to follow Daily Star Trek News on social media. We're at Daily Trek News on Twitter and Instagram. I'm back tomorrow with more of the Star Trek news you need to know and Trek trivia. I'm Allison Pitt. Live long and prosper. And don't forget to scroll down.
Podcast.roddenberry.com, the Roddenberry Podcast Network.